I am doing mine on hemispatial neglect. As most of us know, the damage is on the right side of the brain, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate, and the posterior parietal. When there's damage to the right side, there's still some sensory left over, and they've said that there can be enough sensory to overcome the inattention to the left side that is being neglected, but it has to be biologically or perceptually salient enough. And what they said in here in the article that I read, emotional faces or voices gives a response, because there is feedback signals from the limbic regions, from the amygdala, and that's from fear and anger. So they did research on a man. He is 72 years old and he has hemispatial neglect, and they tested emotional response with him. So what they did was, first of all, of course, they tested to see if he had hemispatial neglect, and then they did a behavioral conditioning experiment. And in this, there was 3 phases. And this was 4 months after his stroke that he had. So in the first phase, they took a red, a blue, and a green triangle. And in these triangles, they would do it unilaterally or bilaterally and very randomly. And he would have to say aloud if he saw the red triangle or if it was upside down or right side up. And there were a total of 192 trials in this. In the second phase, now this is the phase that they did like a conditioned phase. What they did the same visual stimuli were presented, but this time the triangles were presented unilaterally on each side, 50% on left, 50% on right. And in this phase, 80% of the red triangles, only the red ones, were presented with a loud white noise. And it was through headphones, both ears, and it wasn't painful to the man, but it was very uncomfortable. And so the blue and the green triangles had no noise at all. The third phase is the post-conditioning, and it was identical to the first phase. No sound was paired with any of the stimuli. In all 3 phases, skin conductance response was measured by electrodes attached to the left hand. So the results. In the behavioral session, they had MRI results and then behavioral session results. In the first phase 1 preconditioning phase, he showed, of course, severe visual extinction, failed to detect 4 to 5% of the stimuli on the left visual, hemispatial side, bilateral trials. In the post-conditioning phase performed, there was better with fewer misses in bilateral trials with the conditioned response, which was the red triangles, that was presented on the left side, as opposed to the conditioned response without the white noise, the blue-green triangles. In the skin conductance response, in the unilateral trials with the red triangles, showed increased amplitude. So when they showed the red triangles and that white noise, there was a huge increase in amplitude, and it actually had him look to the left side. Skin conductance on correct bilateral trials was increased for the conditioned stimulus, the red triangles, and post-conditioning paired to the pre-phase, regardless whether conditioned stimulus paired in the right side or left side. In the MRI bilateral trials with emotionally significant stimulus, which was the white noise, the red triangles on the left side, there was a significant increase in posterior right that says fusiform, I'm not sure what that is, fusiform cortex. So there's more activation in the posterior. The left, now this is what confused me, the left extinguishing the conditioned stimulus, the red triangles, produced similar response in right visual cortex then left perceived the blue and green triangles. So what I'm thinking is, with the conditioned response, there was same increased amplitude and significance than with just the blue-green triangles. So the patient had selective amygdala responses to the red triangles and the white noise. The red triangles were fear conditioned. And it says here, the results demonstrate a significant boosting of visual processing for the conditioned stimulus, the red triangles, due to their acquired emotional significance. So this still has a correlation with emotional significance. There's some more interesting stuff in here. Moreover, our patient presented selective amygdala response. Furthermore, because the amygdala sends feedback projections into sensory areas, it has been proposed that its response to emotional stimuli may also serve to boost perceptual processing and memory encoding in cortical areas through the modulatory top-down signals. So there is still hope for the hemispatial neglect patients. Thank you very much.